Good evening. I'm Professor Jerry Spillman. This is Heritage Baptist College online, and welcome you to our class that is entitled Meat of the Word. This follows Milk of the Word. These are both authored by Dr. James Wilkins. And we left off last week. We worked through Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday in class. In this lesson, we're on page number 56 of the answers for lesson 3. And we're going to just cover the answers for Thursday and Friday because I left those to you for homework. And then we're going to begin chapter 4 and continue the way we've been doing. So, Thursday, the paragraphs we were working with were called His Claim by Right of Lordship. And question number 1 says, since those 3 statements are true, what should
our attitude
be toward God? And we put a mark there that we need to break that line.
Yeah.
We need to put 2 words on that line.
I just put it above it.
And it needs to be longer.
Our attitude, right?
Yeah.
Since you've got a whole, well, in our book,
Yeah, it's 1 line.
Shouldn't there be 2 on number 2? On number 2 as well?
No. Only 1.
there's number 2. Let's look at number 2. It says, moreover, it is required in
Stewards.
that a man be found.
Faithful.
What's missing?
I thought it was supposed to be a steward.
Faithful.
So it's supposed to be what?
I thought it was supposed to be a steward, required in a steward.
Oh, I believe that's a direct quote. I think it says that. Let's take a look over page 48 and just verify that.
Okay.
The more of these we check out, the better our end product will be when we finish.
I might be wrong.
It says required in stewards,
In stewards.
and the other one says
Last
our
paragraph,
attitude.
page 48, in the first sentence.
Oh, it already says in stewards there though.
Yeah, it already does.
So there's just 1 line for stewards. It's
It
all you
has
need.
in
See, look,
Yes.
it has the in already.
That a man be found
If you look.
faithful.
Stewart.
Yeah. See, number 2. It's already right.
Number 2.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's correct, isn't it?
Right.
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Is required in stewards that a man be found faithful. And then number 3, many Christians are repulsed or turned off by these preachers more by their
Intolerant attitude.
intolerant attitude than by what they preach. Number 4, live a separated life from the world in order to get
Your prayers answered.
your prayers answered. That's right, ladies. Thank you. And we could insist that they put a period at the end of that if we'd like.
Thought there was one here?
Yeah.
Looks like it.
Yeah, there's one there.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, there is.
And then number 5, we have to fix. We need to join this.
Whatsoever.
Yeah.
Whatsoever is 1 word.
Uh-huh.
Okay?
Yeah.
Whether therefore you eat or drink or whatsoever you do all to the glory of God.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yeah.
And then go on to Friday. His claim by future companionship. Number 1, this short journey will
Expand
into the vastness of,
eternity with God.
okay, eternity with God. Number 2, well done, thou
Good
and faithful
and good and faithful servant. Okay, you could have done that one without the book probably.
Yeah.
The unfaithful will not.
Where are you at? Oh, you skipped 3.
Number 4, number 3, Okay. Number 3, in the 1,000-year
Year.
reign, give you that one, the faithful will
Rain.
Fellowship.
Rain.
fellowship.
Is it?
It's a fellowship, right?
How
Yeah,
about fellowship?
yeah. There's a statement in there, and this is a quote from it.
Okay, good.
Faithful with fellowship with Christ. Number 4, hang on to that word you had there, Dan.
Yeah.
Number 4, the unfaithful will not
Rain.
reign with Christ during the 1,000-year
Rain.
reign.
Rain.
It's not good to use the same word in a sentence twice. However, it got used that way. All right, number 5, many of the
Rewards.
rewards for faithful, dedicated service will be enjoyed.
For eternity.
Well, the quote says eternally.
Oh yeah, eternally. Not
That's why
for
there's only
eternally.
one line.
I got it.
Got it?
Yes.
Everybody good?
Eternally.
I
I'm good.
remember my answers and I got them all.
You get them all?
I
You
put
think?
eternally.
Yeah, eternally.
All right, let's go ahead to page number 58. We'll read the special thought for the week. This is our week that we're beginning today, week number 4. It says, the wise man chosen by God to find the very purpose for man's existence, stated in Proverbs 11:30,
He that winneth souls is wise.
he that winneth souls is wise.
Solomon said that.
And we'll find that's an answer to a question here for very
I
long.
thought it was cool.
The daily declaration, these daily declarations are really simple sometimes. This one says, I will constantly look for an opportunity to share my faith.
Mhm.
Dan got the opportunity to share his faith with the man at the cleaning store the other day.
Should we put a period at the end of faith?
I got to do it when I got stuck behind a train too.
Oh yeah, I know you told us.
We could put a period there, Doc. There's a lot of those missing. Punctuation, period.
I'll just put one on mine.
Since we are going to work on improving this workbook, so the memory verse is Daniel 12, verse 3. Daniel, you remember Daniel 12, 3?
Not sure.
You got so much stuff memorized that I just thought maybe you'd just pull it right up. All right, here we go. He says, and they that be wise shall shine as the brightness of the firmament, and they that turn many to righteousness as the stars forever and ever. It's talking about they that turn many to righteousness. That
A soul
could be
winner.
your disciplers, your soul winners, couldn't it?
That's exactly what it is.
I think that's what he's talking about
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
Okay. He's quoting Daniel 12,
He
verse
that
3.
winneth souls is wise.
Exactly.
Okay, let's go to lesson number 4, page 59. And we'll start with this lesson. And let me see, before we get too far down the line, I'm going to remove page 68. So I got my study questions right there with me. And I'm going to go back up here to lesson number 4. For Monday, introduction. And the first introduction here doesn't say introduction under lesson 4, but he doesn't have a Roman numeral there, so I guess we're to assume it's an introduction. And he says introduction. So there I went and stepped on my own tail, didn't I?
Mm-hmm.
Introduction. One of the main thoughts which consumed the Apostle Paul's mind was God's course or purpose for his life. He told Timothy we were all saved for a purpose in 2 Timothy 1:9. He consoled the Ephesian pastors when they warned him that if he went to Jerusalem, he would suffer bodily harm or even death by saying, but none of these things move me, neither count I my life dear unto myself, so that I might finish my course with joy. Acts 20, verse 24. One of his last statements of triumph before he was martyred in Rome was, I have finished my course or job. And that's quoted from 2 Timothy 4, verses 6 through 8. Now, since we have a set of questions that pertain on page 68 to the intro, the first question says, the main thought which consumed the mind of Paul was God's
Course or purpose.
course or purpose for his life. Then question number 2 said, so that I might finish my
Course,
with joy.
joy.
Okay. Number 3, the man's name was
Solomon.
who?
Solomon.
No. Who finished his course with joy?
Wow.
Timothy.
No.
Nice.
Paul.
Was Paul.
What?
Brother Seal, my right-hand man. The,
I
inspi-
gotta
the
get-
inspired book is the book of what?
I got Ecclesiastes.
Timothy.
Is that wrong?
No,
What is it?
Timothy?
no,
Romans, isn't it?
no. Acts.
Oh.
I just finished a big study on the book of Acts in Sunday school. We're 13 weeks here, folks.
Okay.
Okay.
The man's name was Paul. If you read, you have to read the paragraph over a couple of times to realize what he's looking for here. I had some difficulty myself.
Okay, which
with
paragraph are you talking about?
But none of these things move me, neither count I my life dear unto myself, so that I might finish my course with joy. Okay, that's the question 2. Okay, and then question 3 is asking about who that man was. It says that man's name was
Paul.
Paul wrote Acts, didn't he? Yeah.
No, Luke wrote Acts.
Luke wrote down Acts, but Paul actually authored these words. I might
Okay,
finish
I'm
my
sorry.
course with joy.
Misunderstood you.
The man's name was Paul. That's who he was talking about. Yes, Luke wrote
Got
Acts,
it.
wrote Acts down.
I see
But
it.
Paul actually was the main actor in the book of Acts, wasn't he? Acts of the Apostles. Okay, so we'll credit this one to Paul. Number 4, it says every scientific experiment demands a what?
Conclusion.
A conclusion. Doc's good at science. We figured if we couldn't get this one, we could ask Doc. And that answer showed up on page 60, believe it or not. And it says in his,
Conclusion? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
yes,
I thought I remembered that.
I'll have to do some reading before I get to that point. Okay, the things done under the sun. Roman numeral 1. It says one of the primary questions which all men ask is, what is this life all about, and why is man on this earth? You ever ask that question?
Yeah.
You ever heard a lot of people ask that question?
Yes.
Especially in churches, they say, why are we on this earth? God anticipated man's questions and gave us a clear-cut answer in the Bible. A, the commission of life. One of the 66 inspired books was written just to answer this question. God chose the wisest, richest, and most supreme ruler of the earth and commissioned him to find the answer to the questions, what is life all about? Why is man on this earth? What will make man happy and give him complete fulfillment in and with his life? The man's name was King Solomon.
Mm-hmm.
And the
Yeah.
book was Ecclesiastes.
The inspired book in which this question is found is the book of Ecclesiastes. And those are actually the correct answers to number 3.
Number 3. I thought you said it was Acts.
Acts.
Yep. I said it was Paul in the book of Acts, but it wasn't.
Oh, okay, let me change it back.
What
Because
page
I had
you on?
Ecclesiastes.
Page, if you go to page 59, right at the bottom, the
Oh.
bottom sentence down there.
I had a
You get in direct quotes, then they contradict what you've answered before. So the man's name was King Solomon, and we need another line to write all that down.
Yeah.
Ecclesiastes.
Yeah, I had Acts.
How about
I
that
had
for a
Ecclesiastes.
surprise, huh?
Yeah, I had that. I put it back.
You put what?
I changed it from Ecclesiastes to Acts, but now I changed it back to Ecclesiastes.
Okay, so you got it right the first time.
So it is Solomon, right? It's not Paul.
Yes, it's Solomon.
Okay.
I gave you
I'll
I
change
gave
it
you a
back.
bum answer there. Every scientific experiment. The question is stated, let's go to the top of page number 60. He says, this question is stated in Ecclesiastes 1:13 and restated in Ecclesiastes 2 verse 3. Solomon testified that he gave himself to seek and search out all things that are done under heaven, till I might see what it was about, good for the sons of men, which they should do under heaven all the days of their life. In simple language, these verses state that Solomon gave his life to find out for what purpose God placed men on the earth. You know, he was vexed with this thing. What was man here for? And that's what the book of Ecclesiastes is. If you read it, he keeps saying,
Vanity and
we tried this and it was vanity. We tried that and it was vanity. And we'll see that here in just a minute.
Yeah.
Commitment to experiment. If one would read all the book of Ecclesiastes, you would discover it as a series of experiments on the part of King Solomon. Some of the experiments Solomon tried are the lunacy of liquor, or the emptiness of foolishness of alcohol, the ludicrousness of laughter, or living it up, the lucid emptiness of luxury and what money can buy, the laborious worriment of labor, or who's going to get what I have, the lying litta of lust, or deceived to despair. And the definition of litta here is a long worm-shaped cartilage in the tongue of the dog and other carnivorous animals. The lying litta of lust. He's just referring to the inside of the tongue of the dog.
Okay.
Okay. After each experiment, Solomon maintained that man was placed on the earth for a far greater purpose than what he found from the fulfillment in that realm. After each experiment, he would express sadness, emptiness, and declare all is vanity. Ecclesiastes 1 verse 2. Then you see point C. What does it say there?
Conclusion.
Conclusion of the experiment. In this first sentence, every scientific experiment demands a conclusion.
Yeah.
The wisest man on earth gave his findings in Ecclesiastes 12, verses 13 and 14. In his summary, he gave the general purpose for man's existence on the earth. In the book of Proverbs 11, verse 30, he states the purpose for the child of God's life. His deductions, after a lifetime of investigation into the purpose of God's creation of man and why he placed him on the earth, are very pointed. Memorize the inspired findings of why you and the rest of the human race are alive, as stated by Solomon in Ecclesiastes 12, verses 13 and 14. Quoted here, he says, "Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. For God shall bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil." In the following sections, we will give the primary purpose which God has for each believer's life. The things the redeemed are to do. Things the redeemed are to do. Jesus spent 3.5 years on the earth training leaders. And if you look, the thing that saved Tuesday in the questions, question number 1, your answer is 3.5 years. And as it's filled in there, that's how we write it. So we don't need to divide the line.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, 3.5 is considered one word. It's not actually 2.
It might be a little clearer if I took that space out there.
between the 3 and the 1/2.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think if I took that out, it'd be easier for them too.
Yeah. Let's see. Maybe. Yeah, it's more obvious here. Remove space. I'm listed as a typo. I don't know. I guess that's what it is, isn't it?
Yeah, somebody just hit a space there.
Yeah, it's too far.
So training leaders.
Uh-huh.
Jesus spent 3.5 years on the earth training leaders. After his resurrection and just before his ascension back into heaven, he reaffirmed what he wanted his disciples to do. These final words are given in what is called the Great Commission. And Brother Sill preached the Great Commission to us just recently.
Yes, sir.
And vehemently. It was a very good sermon.
Do you want me to capitalize great and commission? Think it's necessary?
Well, that'd be up to whether you believe it's necessary.
Okay, I'm just
It's-
asking. Because
it's-
generally we do.
It's just a title.
Yeah.
But really, there's no formal expression, right?
Yeah.
I think the Great Commission is the Great Commission. If you want to capitalize it to make it look more grandiose or something, I guess it's okay. But
I'm just asking.
okay, I don't see a need.
Okay.
Personal
To have it in lowercase
opinion.
doesn't make it any less.
That's correct. Doesn't make it any less great. And it doesn't change the command, does it?
Nope.
Nope.
It says, we will briefly explain each account of the Great Commission. And you see it's not capitalized again here. So
Sure.
one can see the primary work for the saved. And it's like these capitalized titles, you know. Is it proper to capitalize all the words in a title? Well, not really anymore, but it used to be. And it used to be we'd put a great big capital letter at the start of paragraphs, and we don't do that anymore. But a lot of your Bibles you'll see are still formatted that way. So we need to get to this level about training the one to the level. And Doc, I had a question about that question. It says train the ones, and let me see. I have to go back and see if I can find where it was in the text. Those one to the level. Yes. Page 61. That very paragraph right where you are. Jesus to go into, let's see. The order is go into each nation of the world, win people, train those one. Somehow you lose the train of thought before you get to one there, I guess. But train those one. I think maybe we should say those people one. Is that clearer?
Train those one to the level where
Kind of
they
an
can
awkward
win
sentence,
and
isn't it?
train their own people.
See, it's a extraordinary long sentence anyway.
You could change one to people, and that would agree with the bit before. The order is go into each nation of the world.
Change the
win
word
people,
one to
train
people.
those people.
It's kind of a run-on sentence.
I think that would be. I think that would be good. Yes, because we've already seen them get one. We win those people. So they are already one. Let's change the word one, W-O-N, to people. Change those people. To the level where they can win and train their own people. I think that's a better wording. Does that sound like a good answer to you
Yes, sir.
folks?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Number 3, let's see. Let's go into the commission as found in Mark. And Brother Sill, I love it when you quote the Bible and you tell us to go there.
Yes,
and It's
sir.
printed up on the
Yes, sir.
board up behind us, all the way across the top of the stage.
Yes, sir. Amen.
Yeah.
It says, in Mark 16:15, it says, "Go ye into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature." That's been across the front of our church house as long as I've been coming here.
Down at the mission, it's NIV and it says creation.
Huh?
Down at the mission, it's NIV and it says creation on the wall.
No, it
Oh,
says
go you
every
into all
creature.
creation?
Go ye into all the world.
Preach the gospel to every creature.
Every creature. It said in the NIV version it says creation.
Oh, in the NIV it
Yeah,
says.
they got it in. They got the
Oh,
NIV
yeah.
quote on the
Well,
wall.
you know, in the
I don't even bring other Bible versions into my classes. Honestly, Dan, I just assume not even quote those because they're false. We know they're false. And, you know, we have studied the foundational documents and found that those words don't exist that way. So,
You want me to put the Greek up there in front of you?
you can go ahead. That's okay for me, but I don't know if everybody would agree with that.
No,
So,
because that's what it says.
the next statement right behind that, it says, "This gives the individual believer a personal responsibility of preaching or telling each person in the believer's world." Guess what? That's question number 3. Does everybody get that? The believer has the personal responsibility of preaching or telling each person in the believer's world. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay. The commission, as found in Luke. Brother Sill, you sure you didn't preach out of this book? The commission is found in Luke. It says in Luke 24, verses 46 through 49, the Great Commission is that the plan of salvation is to be preached in his name among all nations, beginning at Jerusalem. Okay. And then the commission is found in John. Point D. It says in John chapter 20, verses 21 to 23, Jesus tells the believers that their job is the same as his job was while he was living on the earth. And that is, "As my Father hath sent me, even so send I you." Jesus came to speak to, but he came to seek and save the lost. Jesus concludes the Great Commission in verse 23 by placing the fearful consequences and responsibilities upon the believers by proclaiming, "Whosoever sins you remit, they are remitted unto them. And whosoever sins you retain, they are retained." Simply stated, as the believer goes, tells and persuades the sinner to turn from his sins and call upon the name of the Lord, his sins are forgiven or remitted. If the saved do not go, the sinner will not hear, will not turn, and will not call upon the name of the Lord, so his sins are retained and he dies lost. The saved must go.
Right.
It's printed in capital letters here, isn't it? So we go back to the word if. Read question number 4.
Okay.
You see that question number 4 there?
Yeah.
If the saved do not go, the sinner will not.
Here.
Will not.
Here.
Here.
Will not hear.
Yeah.
Oh.
Will not hear, will not turn.
Uh-huh.
And he leaves that one out.
What?
He says, he just starts at will not hear.
Right.
Okay.
Will not turn.
It says, if they do not go, the sinner will not hear, will not turn, will not call
Upon the name of the Lord.
upon the name of the Lord. That's page 62, paragraph D. All right. The commission as found in Acts. Some people don't know the Great Commission is found in Acts. It says in Acts 1, verse 8, Jesus said the believer must be empowered by the Holy Spirit in order to become an effective witness. Then he expressly commanded them to get the gospel to every man, woman, boy, and girl in every town, nation, and continent of the whole world. The last words of Jesus, as recorded in the Great Commission to his disciples, clearly shows that the saved are to get the gospel to the lost. The last sentence I read to you is question number 5 on Tuesday. That is the believer's primary charge from God. Okay, Wednesday, the testimony of the greats. As we attempt to help the believer understand the primary purpose for his life and what he ought to be doing as a Christian, it is clear that the Lord intended that each saved person was responsible as an individual believer to carry the gospel to the lost. Each account of the Great Commission stresses that the believer is to go. Consider what some of the great men of the Bible have said on this subject. And turn to page number 63. A. King David declared his understanding of his primary purpose. David had sinned grievously and was uttering his heart-stirring prayer in Psalm 51. Heart-stirring prayer. It's probably heart-stuttering too, but it was a heart-stirring prayer. In Psalm 51, he pleaded with God to forgive him of his sins and restore the joy of salvation. He promised God that if he would renew a right spirit within him and restore the joy of salvation, then David would return to his primary purpose and work. He would return to the work of getting sinners saved. Read the declaration of his intent in Psalm 51, verse 13. Then, based on God's restoring the joy of salvation to David, will I teach transgressors thy ways, and sinners shall be converted unto thee. Does that look like question number 1 for Wednesday? Page number 69.
It is.
Sinners converted.
Okay. David so much as said, God, if you will forgive me, I'll get back to soul winning. B, the wisest man who ever lived gave this wisdom. The fruit of the Proverbs, saved,
Righteous.
is a tree of life.
The fruit of the righteous.
What did I do? Slip Proverbs in there?
Yes,
The
sir.
fruit of the righteous are saved. Sorry, folks, I'm kind of cross-eyed tonight. Is a tree of life, and he that winneth souls is wise. Question number 2, and we need to bring question number 2 out. Even with 1 and 3.
Oh, yeah.
He that winneth souls is wise.
He that wins souls is wise.
Okay. The man who gave his life to find out why God placed man on this earth so much as declared the people who win souls are the ones who have found the real purpose of life and are wise. Point C, the man who wrote 14 books of the New Testament declared, this man was the great apostle Paul and was saved to become the believer's pattern. 1 Timothy 1:16, he said, I am made all things to all men that I might by all means save some. Question number 3. Everybody see question number 3? Okay. All things to all men that I might by all means, I made myself like all these other men with the hopes of winning them to Christ. That's what he said. All right. In 1 Corinthians 9:22, he told the Ephesians in Acts 20, verse 31, that during the 3 years he was their pastor, he had warned sinners night and day with tears. He also stated he was pure from the blood of all men because he had declared all the counsel of God. The examples and writings of the Apostle Paul reveal man's purpose, that is, to win souls. So then at point D, we see our question number 4, jumping right up and hitting us in the face. It says, Jesus, the Son of God, was a soul winner. Even on the cross, he was a soul winner, wasn't he?
Yeah.
There's a man won, And he's in heaven with Jesus because Jesus was a soul winner.
Yes, sir.
Okay. He personally witnessed to and won Nicodemus at night. He won the woman at the well. He called Zacchaeus down from the tree and saved him. He healed and saved the man who lived in the graveyard. He cleansed and saved the woman who was taken in adultery. He prolonged his suffering to save the thief on the cross.
Yeah.
Here and there, everywhere, Jesus went about seeking and saving sinners. He was known as a friend of sinners. He ended his personal ministry by telling the saved, "As my Father hath sent me, even so send I you," in John 20, verse 21. And that is question number 5. As my Father hath sent me. And there should be a comma at the end of that "me." And it's in the question, Doc.
Yeah,
Oh,
Yeah.
there is a comment.
Yeah,
In the question, there is one.
there isn't in the question. There is in the text. That's the text.
Oh.
That other
yeah.
sheet you have is the question.
Okay.
I'm gonna set it up next week with 2 of them so I can go back and forth.
Okay.
Otherwise, I gotta scroll up and
Just look at
down.
all the fun you can have with that thing, Doc.
Yeah.
Even so send I you. Okay, that's found on page 64. And we need a comma at the end of "me"
Uh-huh.
because it is in the text, as Susie pointed out. Okay, so for Thursday, it says the tendency of the redeemed. A, to discuss doctrine. One of the natural tendencies of the believer is to discuss the Bible or talk doctrine. Paul admonished the believer to leave the principles of the doctrine of Christ in Hebrews 6:1. He listed the doctrine that believers discuss and to debate as the world goes to hell. And this will we do if God permit. It's verse number 3. Which means that believers have a tendency to discuss doctrine and not to go as Jesus commands. You must have read question number 1. Question number 1 for Thursday. Okay? It's right there. All right, the subject in this scriptural setting is turn away from the empty discussing of the doctrines and go on to maturity or serving Christ and winning souls. Waste your time discussing things like that when there's lost people around you that need to be saved.
Yeah.
It's okay if you want to prophesy to each other, but when a lost person comes along, he says our purpose is to save that lost person.
Yeah.
B, to display outward form of religion. Another tendency of the religious is to stress the order of service and its program. In Isaiah 1:11 through 15, God plainly denounced the religious services of the Jews. God said he was sick of their services and that he hated them. Question number 2.
Sick of their services.
God said he was sick of their services and that he hated them.
Yeah.
He said he would hide his face from them, that he would not hear their prayers. In Isaiah 5, verses 12 through 14, he said their services were all dried up and were causing people to go to hell. Jesus strongly denounced the formal services of the Pharisees and their stress of tradition.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Somehow we skipped over something here. Did we get question number 1? We got question number 1.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And
Stress and tradition. Now you're number 4.
let's see. Oh, I'm in the wrong. There we are. Okay. I'm sitting here trying to read Friday's questions. Okay.
It won't work.
Stress of tradition. So, everybody got number 3?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Now, as he said here, in continuity with what we're about to read, it says, Jesus strongly denounced the formal services of the Pharisees and their stress of tradition. He said that their hearts were far from God, their lips uttered empty words. Many fundamental churches are less than one generation from this formalism because they have already stopped their own personal soul winning. Isn't that sad? So many churches have stopped the tradition of soul winning within their churches. C, to disdain personal responsibility. Most churchgoers love the blessings and benefits.
Should we take
And this
that?
goers needs either to remove the first quote or
Yeah,
add,
just remove it.
just remove the first one. Okay. Put typo here. Most churchgoers love the blessings and benefits, but it is hard to get them involved. Jeremiah was inspired by the Holy Spirit to charge the Jewish people with the blood of the souls of the poor innocents. Because they had stopped their soul winning, Jeremiah 2 verse 34, the Jews answered vehemently and declared they had not sinned. We have kept ourselves pure from the world. We are normal. God rejected their arguments and answered, hast thou also taught the wicked ones their ways?
Should we have a?
Thy ways?
I think we're missing a quotation mark there somewhere.
See, we have kept ourselves.
No, you got them both.
Pure from the world, we are normal.
No, you need a double quotation mark right before the word Jeremiah 2:33. In this line down there, because you got a quote inside of a quote. This quote here is complete,
Yeah,
but
and then he just
that quote there, churchgoers, we got rid of that quote, okay. And then, let's see, we have kept ourselves pure from the world. We are normal.
You might put a quote there because he's not quoting them. He just
We have kept ourselves pure from the world right here.
or we are normal and then quote, because that's kind of the end of his statement.
Yeah, it is. Let's see, let me get back in here. We are normal. And he put a period. Maybe we should just put an end quote there, huh?
Yep, end quote. Uh-huh.
Okay. And then it starts a new statement. It says, God rejected their arguments and answered, hast thou also taught the wicked ones thy ways? And that looks correct, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yep.
And that is question number 4. And we need a break between, we need 2 lines in the words, hast thou also taught. Okay, that's 2 words. Hast thou also taught the wicked ones thy ways? So we need a break in that one line in question 4.
Yeah.
Then question number 5 says, have you told them how to get to heaven? Let's see. That's the next statement here. Have you told them how to get to heaven? And then it asks the next question. Have you shared the 4 spiritual principles? Have you preached the gospel, good news of God's love to them? These Jews disdained their personal responsibility of telling the lost about salvation and were themselves rebuked by God and charged with sinners' blood. The saved are to have regular church services, but that is not the primary purpose of their lives. Their primary purpose is to win the lost. Okay, and then we'll begin the lesson for Friday. It says, Roman numeral V, the teaching of Jesus. Most religious leaders and churches have such a blindness toward the fact that the individual child of God is to personally seek out and win souls that Jesus devoted a whole chapter in the Bible to that principle. The chapter is one of the best known in the Bible, Luke chapter 15, but the truth which caused him to write the chapter is still hidden from the majority. And he brings up point A. He says, the sinners came. In verse 1, the sinners and publications, the sinners and publicans came to Jesus. They had needs and were convinced that Jesus would help them. This caused the religious crowd to murmur. In verse 2, they complained, this man receiveth sinners and eateth with them, because of their lack of understanding of the parable of the purpose. I jumped the line. Understanding of the purpose of Jesus' life and the real reason for having a church, Jesus spake this parable, verse 3. It does not say these parables, but this parable. The 15th chapter is not made up of 3 parables. This is important. Remember this. The 15th chapter is not made up of 3 parables, namely the parable of the lost sheep, the lost coin, and the prodigal son. It is made up of 1 parable which shows the purpose for man's life, that of seeking sinners. Question number 1 for Friday. Is that what everybody got?
Seeking sinners.
Okay, good. All right. The saints charged, point B. It says, in this parable, the conditions of the sinner, the concern of the Savior, and the true commitment of the saved are revealed. The sheep denote the sinner's nature. They go astray and must be sought. The shepherd leaves the sheep who are safe in the fold to seek, find, and rescue the lost sheep. The sheep represent the sinner. This truth is stated in verse 7, which gives the punchline of the story when it states, likewise, this is question number 2, likewise joy shall be in heaven over one sinner that repenteth. Everybody get heaven for number 2?
Heaven.
Okay. That statement about joy in heaven over salvation of a sinner confirms the point that Jesus made is about seeking sinners. The coin became lost through the act of another. Through one man, Adam, we all became sinners. The coin will not recover itself. It must be sought and found. When the coin was found, the neighbors were called and they rejoiced with the woman. Jesus clearly is illustrating the seeking, finding, and salvation of the sinner by the Christian. And I had to change the saved. In question number 3, it says by the saved. I changed that so it read the same as the book, Christian. Okay? Cross out the word saved and write the word Christian down there. And that's spelled with a capital C. Got that? It's not that saved is a bad answer, just Christian is a better one because it's directly from the book.
Okay.
We know this by a clear application Jesus made in verse 10. Likewise, I say unto you, there is joy in the presence of the angels of God over one sinner that repenteth. So point C, it says the service is confused. The sheep denote we are sinners by nature. The coin shows that we are sinners through the act of another. The boy manifests that we are sinners by choice. The father represents God the Father. The older brother manifests the attitude of a church member who is faithful to the church services, but does not realize the main purpose of the church is to see sinners saved. The elder brother heard the rejoicing over the lost sinner, remembered all the work he had done in the field, in verse 25, and became upset. This attitude represents the attitude of the members who are confused about why we have church services. Many faithful members in a local church have resentment toward the way the pastor makes over the bus kids or the long-haired hippie.
Salute.
Should there be a
Professed
quotation there
Yeah, it needs the quotation mark
after it?
at the end of hippie. Yeah, hippie. Who profess to be saved. They are loyal to the demonstration. They give to the church, play on the ball team, have fellowship at the local church socials, attend most of the services, and believe that when they do those things, it makes them good members or good Christians. And we need a quotation mark at the end of that one.
And one after members too.
After members, let's see. Good members, yeah. There's a space there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Must be that,
And one after Christian.
yeah. The elder brother, older church member, told his father how he felt, verses 29 and 30. The old father entreated his son by saying, "Son, thou art ever with me, and all I have is thine." He was literally saying, "Son, you have been faithful. Everything I have, you will inherit." Then he went on to imply, now who is he? You're talking about the son again. Moved it back to the elder son. He says, "I thought this was what the church was all about. I thought this was what we were saved, what we were working and praying for, to get your lost brother saved."
Should there be a quotation there?
Let's see.
And
Yep.
Yes. Yes.
At the end of saved.
Yes. We ought to make Adobe pay us for all this punctuation that they messed up for us.
Was that a PDF?
Well, somewhere in the process it did, yeah. So, and then Doc and I, we discussed this this afternoon for briefly. This question number 5 has got a problem. And I'll show it to you when we get there if you haven't run onto it already. He says, read verse 32 with that interpretation in mind. It was meet that we, that is you and me, should make merry and be glad, for thy brother was dead, Ephesians 2:1, and is alive again, and was lost, and is found. This whole chapter is given to inform and charge the saints of God to persevere in the main purpose for their lives, persevere in their efforts to seek after sinners. Now, it says the teaching in this chapter is in complete harmony with the practice of Jesus during his personal ministry. His main effort was to reach sinners. Most of the religious crowd did not understand the true purpose of Christianity then, and most of the 20th century church members do not understand it now. Most of the religious crowd, where does that begin?
Does it say now in the text, or did
No. It just says don't understand.
you? Excuse me.
There's no now.
I jumped right on this thing when I found the answer. For most of the religious crowd did not understand.
Most of the religious crowd did not
Where is
understand
that?
the true purpose of Christianity. Oh, it's at the bottom page of 67.
Bottom?
Bottom.
Yeah, there we are. Did not understand the true purpose. Okay, we're reading question 5. But you notice that you need a break between